The time has come for what's probably the best part of this year's show, me. So sit back and enjoy 15 with a microphone. So, this year I was finally able to get into hunting. And in order to go hunting, you needed to have a license from the DNR. And in order to do that, I had to take a hunting course. So, for the hunting course, it took place in, I'm pretty sure it was a school. And we went in there, and first thing they had us do was they gave us paper things, which had some basic rules you should follow, like don't point your gun at people and stuff. Then they had us look at a few different types of guns and figure out how to reload and put the safety on. And also how to cross over fences and stuff and not accidentally misfire your gun while crossing a fence. One of the things we did that was interesting that we unfortunately didn't get to do, but we were told about, was during a part where they were talking about tree stands where you sit in the tree waiting for deer or something to come to you. One of the things they were going to have us do was they were going to put up a blood trail leading to a plastic deer corpse that they had on the ground, and we were supposed to try to track the blood trail. But it rained the night before, so they didn't have time to set it up, so we didn't get to do that. And then we got to practice shooting a bit with some fake guns, because we're not allowed to use real guns in a school for obvious reasons. And then once we got to the actual test part, it was pretty easy. There was a written bit, which was just questions we went over before we started, so I already knew most of the answers. And the physical bit was also pretty easy. I think a week or something after that, we actually went hunting. And we were going for squirrels or rabbits and just small game, because after doing the hunting course, they gave me a small games license so that I could legally hunt small game. And we went to a foresty area, and we brought chairs, and we set up. We saw one squirrel, but it was climbing up a tree and really far away from us, and I didn't see it in time to maybe take a shot. And that was the only animal we saw during the trip, so we unfortunately didn't kill anything. But it was fun regardless. One other thing we did that was related to hunting, was we did plinking. So I got to take a gun, and we went to a special place, and my gun wasn't properly working before, because in order to clean it, you need to take it apart, and we couldn't figure out how to properly put it back together. So while we were there, we got that fixed, thankfully. And so the plinking thing is where there's some metal targets, and you have the gun, and you can shoot the metal targets, and it makes a plink sound. And some of them fall over, and there was a string next to the thing which you could pull on to put them back up. It was really fun. I did pretty good. I didn't do great, but I did pretty good. It was fun. Something else interesting that happened this year was we got a cat. Her name is Whiskey. She's a bit of an asshole sometimes, but I love her. We got her a cat tree, which has two house things that she can climb into, and it's some things on top that spin if she wants them to, and she can just sit on it, and there's she can claw it. She also likes to claw up our furniture, which we don't like, but she does it anyways. And yeah, she's a really nice cat sometimes. Something unrelated to the other two things I've talked about so far is a show we've been watching a lot this year called House Hunters. So if you don't know what that is, it's a show where there's usually a couple, but sometimes it's just one person or a single parent with kids. And they have a budget and a set of things that they want in their house. Usually it's a couple, they disagree on literally everything. Different budgets, different requirements for the houses. And then they have a realtor who is usually related to them for some reason, or friends of them, and they show 3 houses. It's probably a lot more, but they only show 3 in the show. And the couple or whatever's goal is to just pick a house that works for them both. they usually can't decide, and the houses are usually over budget or under budget and are missing a ton of the things they want. But I figured out that the best way to guess which house they're going to get of the three is to bet on the house which you think is the worst option they can choose, because they are awful at making decisions and usually choose that one, because if they can't be happy, then their partner can't be happy, obviously. A different show we've been watching a lot is called Whose Line, which is an improv show where there's 4 people and they are given prompts to do with different games, and they will just make up a scene on the spot. There's one where they have to sing together sometimes, and they have no idea what the song's going to be about, so they can't plan anything beforehand. So it's really impressive to watch and really funny. Which is related to another thing we did recently, in fact, which is called Comedy Sports, which is a pretty old show. Though we went to see it live. I don't know if there's a recorded version, but we went to see it live. And it was another improv thing, which had games, and it was also really fun. And some of our suggestions that we shouted out were actually taken. Like, there was one which was like a 30-second interview, and one of the questions was the last book you read. And Mom said Lord of the Rings, because I didn't, even though that was the last book I read. And they actually took that suggestion and was like, what are some of the characters in Lord of the Rings? And he got a few of them right, although the majority were just made up, which was really funny. And Dad said something along the lines of they were trying to get 3 words to make a thing they were debating about. And I believe Dad said a word like discombobulated, and they actually took that, which was like a discombobulated caterpillar or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty funny. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is a podcast I've been listening to a lot recently called Welcome to Night Vale. It's a kind of, I guess you could say, horror podcast, though it tells it in a brightish way so that it doesn't seem terrifying. If it was told in a more monotone way, it would be pretty terrifying. But it's a very interesting podcast which takes place in the desert, and the main person speaking is a radio show host who tells us about this weird desert town. In the desert town, no clocks work. Even if you bring a watch in from the outside, it will stop working and not tell you the time, because inside of all clocks there's just void. A few other things that are interesting there is there was a floating cat which was found in the bathroom, and when approached it made ominous noises with some screaming in the background, and it has like 8 legs. So we named it Koshkesh and gave it a home, and it's very friendly. Just don't touch it, otherwise it's very friendly. You're also not allowed to go in the dog park, and if you see any hooded figures near the dog park, you should ignore them at all costs and just forget that ever happened. Otherwise, the secret police will come and kill you. There's also another version of Night Vale, which is in the same podcast, but it's like a different world, sort of, which is the opposite. So everything is bright and cheerful, and there's lots of blood. It's not very bright and cheerful, but everyone's smiling and happy because of the god that forces them to be. It's a pretty fun podcast. My major goals for 2024 is to play more D&D. I want to go hunting more, and maybe not just small game, but also like maybe turkey hunting or deer hunting, even like duck hunting or something, I don't know. And pet the cow a lot. Yep, that's my goals. Peace.